All right. Welcome to the Locker, Season 3, Episode 36. I have no adults that's supervising me today. It is going to be all me, all my comments, all my crazy rants. Welcome. If this is a no holds bar episode, if you have any questions, any comments, leave them jokers right on this. I got a little column right here that I read. Like I see Kendrick Jones. What's up, brother? I appreciate you joining. I see, I don't know what. See, y'all come with these crazy monikers. See, Kendrick Jones, just his moniker is Kendrick Jones. So I know that's Kendrick Jones. Now I got DJRC Cola. What the hell, DJ? And the crazy part about it, I know who you are. Why you got so many different monikers? Or monikers. I said Monica. Wow, that was crazy. Hey, rivalry week. I was at Kentucky in when did we have? When did we come back with the rivalry game? 1995, when Howard Schnellenberger and Coach Curry agreed to reignite the crosstown rivalry. We won the first, we lost the second. So I ended this thing 1-1. And look, I'm not a person. I'm not from Kentucky. I'm from deep down South Louisiana. So the rivalry, knowing people from Louisville and knowing people from that part of the country, didn't really bother me. I hated them because they were in our state. That's all. I didn't want anyone in the state that I played in to have that carried over my head like we beat y'all. Because you all going to see them out sometime. So this week is a big week. And the thing about rivalry weeks is you really don't know what's going to happen. Because the record doesn't matter. I know it's cliche, but it's true. Because it's like a new season almost. You get a chance at the end of the season to end your season on a good note. Even if you were not playing as well leading up to this is a game to lead you into the next season, preferably a bowl game. And I'm looking forward to it. And this is what, for me, I'm looking forward to more is that our O-line last 2 games maybe, has started to hit something. And the Georgia game is a little misleading because people are so brand conscious. But Georgia defense all year didn't wreak havoc as far as pass rushing. They are just a solid team. Let me read this comment. Them birds are playing pretty good. They're just I will answer that in a minute. They have a solid team, beyond solid team. But Kirby Smart last season realized as a DC the best way to win a championship. And the best way is to not consistently put your guys on islands with a lot of rushing and man-to-man on the outside, even though they did that this week against us. He realized last year that I can't do that and give a big play out the big play. So this year, he's missing a little bit of that front four pressure since they lost so many guys to the NFL. He felt like this year he's got to pressure a little more. He had to play a little man-to-man anymore, because he wasn't getting pressure. And when he played man-to-man against us, and people are wondering why Why didn't we run these plays early in the season? Because the same way last year, teams realized that our biggest our biggest strength as far in the passing game is the deep pass. And teams after after Missouri game, who did we play after Missouri last year? Was that the Chattanooga game? Was that the third game? Teams started realizing we're going to play a little shell coverage and make them throw it underneath. And that's what a lot of teams did this year. Georgia was one of the first teams that went strictly man-to-man. And Barry and Brown just lit them up. So it isn't that we didn't try to throw deep. I mean, you remember, was it the first play come out of halftime after Vandy? We threw a deep pass to Barry and Brown. It wasn't completed, but we tried. This is just a game that this Georgia team allowed us to tap into that a little more, and especially since they're not a high pass rushing team. I don't know where they rank in pass rush. It wasn't high. Corey said, was it like playing in that first? Was it 94, Corey? Did we play U of L? Oh, you're right. We did play U of L. Man, I want you to forget that 94 because we lost 10 games in a row after that game. We lost 12 if you really want to cross over, because we lost 10 in the 94 season and we lost the first 2 games in the 95 season. Man, I get Georgia hasn't been a big havoc play, but Buford was served. That's an interesting question, CC, because I'm not sure how well Horsey played. He played considering the situation, considering that he didn't learn about the situation till right before the game. He played a decent game. He had issues just like everybody else had issues. He had issues on, to me, we were 2nd and 9, I think, going in the red zone, going away from the field house, from the Kraft Center, whatever that's called, the new facility. We was going away from that, and they had a safety outside linebacker blitz, and he totally missed him. And that took us into 3rd and 16 and took us out of a chance to potentially put points on the board. He had another screw up on the screenplay, right, I guess the last drive of the game, when we hit that screen to Jatan and it just went for nothing. He played a decent game, though. It was something interesting with that is, why did we move away from him before the season started? Because he was listed in fall camp and come out of spring as our starting left tackle. So what happened from that time to now? Because if he could have played this well at the beginning of the season, he would have progressed to now. So, reason why I say that. So for people who complain about coaching, this Buford kid was a starter, went from being the starter left tackle to the backup left tackle to the backup right tackle. Think about that. He was the starter to the backup on the other side. So for CC to say he had a good game, that means him and Yenser got together and worked on his craft. So for people who say, because we conveniently want to blame coaches when we think things are going bad, but we fail to give coaches credit when things go well. So for Buford to be basically put out to pasture to come back and have a fan say he played well, you got to give the credit not only to the kid because he battled adversity and stuck with it. He battled getting demoted basically twice, but battled through it and came out the other end with a pretty good game. Same thing for me, as I said last week, and I'm going to bat for my man, Anwar Stewart. We failed to give kudos, and I've been, if you've watched me on Watching with Styles, you watched me on any other thing that I'm affiliated with, I have been highly critical of Justin Rogers. For Justin Rogers to improve from where he was in Miami of Ohio to these last 2 or 3 games where he is now taking on a double team and making plays, or taking on a double team and allowing his linebackers to make plays, but without being washed across the line of scrimmage. Is that a little bit of coaching? Or do you think he just learned that on his own? Or do you think there's a progress? There are steps that have to be taken for someone to go from this level to this level. There are steps. And someone has to guide you up those steps the right way for you to reach your potential the right way. Same thing with Saunders. Same thing with Deion Walker. Same thing with Oxidine. And here's the thing about coaching that I want people to understand. And it's hard because you think you know, but you don't know until you get in that situation. And I am a creature of that. Wasn't a coach, started coaching this year. Things are different than what you think they are. And there's a process. Sometimes fans are not patient in the process because sometimes there are expectations before the season that makes you impatient for the process. Oxidine last year was really maybe the third D lineman in that group. He turned out to be a stud last year. Why? Because he had good coaching. So for people, because I know there's been a lot of stuff going around with coaches getting sent their walking papers because Coach Stoops just signed a big new deal, and expectations are going to go up. And sometimes with that expectation level going to a certain level, sometimes you got to get rid of people. I'm not sure, in my opinion, that that's true. I'm not sure that the best reaction is to clean house. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be done. And my thinking is that you better bring on a dog when you're going to lose a solid coach. And I'm not sure that you can go, my opinion, through another OC, go through another defensive back coach, because Collins, I think, contract is up this year. My man Stu's contract is up this year. I think my man Settle's contract is up this year. When you start moving guys, you better have a dog to replace them. And that's crazy. Let me read this comment. If you go and watch from the Suncat is my resident O-line guru. If you have watched me watching with Styles, I always ask him the questions. Because what I see, I want to make sure I'm seeing right. He said, if you go and watch from the first game to the Georgia game, you can see a lot of improvement in areas that may not stick out. Because O-line improvement, you don't see. You just don't see it. It's almost like defensive line improvements you don't see, because they're not the obvious guy unless they make a tremendous play or they make a horrible play. There's no fine details in looking at a defensive lineman hand placement. They're taking a fine detail, Justin Rogers anchoring down that nose, so when that guard has to combo block him, if he don't stay on long enough, Justin Rogers is going to create havoc. If that guard has to hold on to that combo block longer, that gives my man Trevin Wallace and D-Jack time to fill that hole and make a solid tackle in the hole for a 1 to 2 yard gain. We don't see the hand placement of Saunders to bench press a tackle off of him and throw him around like a rag doll in this game, to win 3 games ago, the offensive tackle was getting into his chest. It doesn't show that in goal line this week against a really good Georgia team, we stayed low and low man wins. We got penetration from Deion Walker that created havoc in the backfield that didn't allow either a fullback to guide the train down the track, or penetration to allow someone else to dip inside and slant a little bit and get another stop. In that second half alone, we had a goal line stop, and we had a 4th and 1, a 3rd and 1, and they had a punt to give us another chance to put points on the board. They had a 3rd and 1, quarterback sneak, and got nowhere. But as a fan, it's hard to see that improvement. And the D-line has improved tremendously from day one to now. CC said Collins brought a lot of high-ranked DBs this offseason that we normally don't get to visit campus. I think look, I'm not a big recruiting guy. So honestly, I don't know the ins and outs of who is doing great on the recruiting trail and who's not. I really don't. I am probably wrong in this, but how many pure recruiters do you need? Let me read this real before I keep going. Actually, when they're in preseason practice, that's true too, Ann. Adam A-Dub is handling some family stuff, Thanksgiving. He's visiting family. I think he's right now probably on a plane, or he might have just landed. I can't remember because it's Eastern and Central time. I think he's on a plane right now. So that's where he is. So when he's not here on this show with us, family comes first, and we cover each other. So that's all it is. I think he's going to visit family, and he asked me do I want to do the show or we'll just cancel? I said, I can't give my faithful fans, our faithful fans, not a show on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So that's why I'm here solo, trying to hold it down. As you know, for me, I'm just free flowing this. So as I was talking about recruiting, do you need? Here's the crazy part about it. Prior to 2018, we were a program that was known for recruiting mid-level, mid-talent players, let's say 3 stars, and developing them to be great players by the time they leave this program. And it's interesting that off of that, we won 10 games. Now, we feel like we can't do that anymore. We have to do such and such to continue to win 10 games. And I don't think it's true. Now, it's obviously better the higher ranking players you get on campus, the higher their floor is. But still, it's about recruiting and developing. And we have to continue to do that. And one thing that we have done a decent job of is hitting in the portal. So for me, how many coaches do you need on a staff to be just great recruiters? And what I mean by great recruiters is people who can form relationships with kids and create a bond with not only them, their family, their posse, their circle. Let's say that. Now, obviously, we lost a couple guys that were good in recruiting or great in recruiting. Summerall was great in recruiting. Now, for me, Clinkscale was supposed to be great in recruiting, right? The difference between him and Summerall is Summerall was a great coach. I'm not sure if Clink was. So that's where, to me, the balance is you got to have some teachers on your staff, and you need to have some Ed Ogerons on your staff. You can't have all Ed Ogerons, though, because who's going to teach the kids how to play? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there are some high school teams where coaches are not teaching a damn thing. They're allowing kids just use their athletic ability. So then when they get to the next level, they're having adversity because they don't know the game of football. So if they're not getting taught on a previous level, you're going to need a coach on the current level in your program who understands the game, understands the technique, and understands how to reach the kid and teach that kid how to develop his talent. So to me, there's a fine line between recruiters and teachers. Thank you. DJ says scheme fit is more important than stars. It's so true. Unless, I'm gonna just be honest with you now. There are some 5-star players and high 4-star players that, regardless of scheme, will ball out in your system. They will ball out in your system. You as a coach, again, needs to find a way to allow them to, you can't harness them too much to where they can't just use their natural instincts and natural ability, But you cannot just let them go wild and let them do their own thing, because then they're just gonna open up holes, and people are gonna sack your quarterback, they're not gonna run the right route, or you're gonna give up touchdowns. What a difference it makes with Levis when he can run the ball. Look, man, it is some weird perception is so crazy, right? And it's unfortunate. And look, someone has to take the blame for everything. That's just human nature, no doubt about it. When you have a quarterback that a lot of people say not a first round pick, he has talent to be a first round pick. He will be a first round pick. So you get a quarterback, you get these young receivers, and you think that things should just run like it's been. But like I've said before, you cannot, well, I'm going to say this first, then I'll continue. Comparison is the thief of joy. And everything we're doing now is comparing this to last year's team. And if you want to do that, you got to also be cognizant of how different this year is from last year. Kids are not taught about being. That's true, Ann. There's a difference between this year and last year. Let's just go by the one thing that's happened is you didn't have C-Rod for the first 4 games. You don't think that makes a difference? You don't think that can create momentum for an offense when you got one of your better players on offense participating for the first 4 games? So that's one. Second of all, if you don't remember, last year we had one of our better O-line groups since Stoops has been here. We had Darren Kennard, who was a PFF just golden child. We had Eli Cox, who was mid-season All-American at guard. We had Luke Fortner, who is right now the starting damn center for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You had Horsey, you had Darryl Rosenthal. The crazy part about it is people thought Darryl Rosenthal was the worst one on that O-line. Right? Darryl Rosenthal would be the best O-line lineman on this year's team. Think about that for a second. So we took a huge step back in the most important position on offense. Now, I've said before, I have never said anybody, because I don't think this is ever true. I was never over the top saying how great the last coordinator was. And I haven't been over the top about how bad this coordinator is. Because when it comes down to it, guys have to execute. Now, if you want to say that the execution is on the coaches, then we can have a debate. But if you want to place 100% of the blame on a guy who's calling plays because the plays are they're not winning plays after the ball been snapped, then I have an issue. The cards are not the same in this hand or this deck as it was in last year. It's just not. And it's hard for people to grasp that, because first thing people say, well, we got a first-round quarterback and they're probably one of the better running backs in school history. Well, you had the damn same thing last year. and we had issues. The only difference is those issues got rectified a little bit quicker than this year. We were having issues until that LSU game, which was, I think, the 5th game last year, right? So now we have issues all the way up to week 9 this year. Because remember this, we scored 13 points against Georgia last year. We scored 6 here. And we didn't have missed field goals. We didn't march into their red zone and got nothing out of it. We marched inside the 30 twice and got nothing out of it. So we had about that 5th game, the 6th game, Liam started rolling a little more. The 9th game, the offense is starting to look a little bit better. The 9th game, 4 games without C-Rod, right about the 5th game, we started rolling a little bit. Now, it's going to all be interesting to see what happened in a couple days. See how that momentum keeps keeps building. See how well, because if you remember that Mississippi State game, when Will Levis started rolling out, he had a real big problem with his running gait. It had a real crazy hitch in it. That hitch is starting to become more of a natural run. And if anybody has ever had turf toe, you understand the pain he's going through. Let me stop for a second. People gripe about the tackles, but what I see the problem is, come back to that. You're right, Adam. So Will is starting to feel a little better. You're getting a little cohesive continuity in the O-line. And we're getting a defense that has wreaked havoc in a conference that's not a great conference. Let's see what happens when they face this team with this size, beating down on those undersized defensive linemen. Now, can we handle their twists and their stunts and their blitz? It's going to be interesting. But the interesting part is, if we win on 1st and 2nd down, we won't be put in a situation to encounter that. Adam brought up a point, says, and I've said this many times, you grab about the tackles, the problem is in the middle. And here's the thing. All right. Any football team, any great football team, you can go back in history. Any great football team is built through the middle. They have a great center. Depends on if they run a 3-4 or 4-3. If they run in a 3-4, they got a great nose tackle. If they run a 4-3, they better have either great 1 tech or 3 tech. One of those boys better be a dog. They got just really solid linebackers and a good safety. Every team in the NFL, you built up through the middle. And I said this during the season, we are not great up the middle. And funny as it may, when the offense start rolling, because here's the thing, against Vandy, we put up enough points to fucking win the game. It's simple as that. We put up enough points offensively to win the game. Defensively, we just didn't stop. We gave up too many big plays. Eli Cox is starting to play better at center. Still not on the level of Luke Fortner, still not on the level of Drake Jackson, still not on the level of John Toe, but he has improved, which again goes back to coaching. So I understand that shit's gonna happen off season, but I just want people to understand that it's not always what you see, what it seems. That's just a take from a guy who has played with some great ass coaches whom players didn't execute. And that's where I get it from. Because I've been a player and has been coached by a great coach. And not everybody in my room or on my side of the ball perform to the level of the coach. Because sometimes the players don't care as much as the coach cares. Sometimes the players feel some type of way because they think the coach is hating on them. That's all. So for me, I'm always on players because it shouldn't take a coach on this level to make you give effort, to make you perform, and to give you the fire or intensity for a game, or give you the attention to detail to study for a game. So why? Because my thing is always coaches don't forget how to coach. So why against Georgia did we execute and perform better than we performed the week before against Vandy? Why? Make me understand that. Why did the players play better against Georgia than against Vandy? And the hurting part about that is if you beat Vandy, we got, even with all the crap we've been through, you finished 4-4 in conference, which is not a normal occurrence for us to finish 500 in conference. Go look at the history of us finishing 500. Stoops is the only coach that's done it consistently. Consistently wouldn't be the right word. Multiple times. Another thing is, I said last week, I'm going to say it again. These last 2 weeks has not been good weeks for turnout at Commonwealth. And that's disheartening because I played on, like I said earlier, I played on a 10-loss team and we had decent fans in the stadium for a 1-8 team late in the season. Adam says we had the juice against Georgia. You know where defense gets the juice from? It gets it from the fans. And some people said stuff that I don't like about not going to the Vandy game. I just don't. And sometimes players need that energy. And thank God for the people who were there to give them something. But it is nothing better than to have 60,000 people that affects that offense when you're on the field. So some of that could be since a lot of fans want to take credit for stuff, right? Oh, well, we taking credit for, because of us, coaches are changing stuff. Because we said stuff, they're doing this. Well, You could have made a change in that game. You could have made a change in the last game. See, Kendrick, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I heard it was deer season. I heard many people say, why am I going to sit in that stadium in that weather against that team? Well, hell, that team beat our ass. And if y'all want to take credit for some stuff, sometimes you got to take the negative for some stuff. See, Adam, I appreciate you for being there. And here's the thing. I'm on the record saying many times, you will never see Van Hiles at any game in November in Commonwealth. Ever. You ain't gonna see me. It's too cold. But I'm also not one who's saying stuff that will, if I don't go, make me look bad. Because I am 10 toes down for this program regardless. Because again, I was on a 1-10 team. So I know how it is when things are not going well. And this team was playing the number 1 team in the country and was 6-4. It's not playing the number 1 team in the country and you're 1-8 or 1-9. This team was 6-4, playing the number 1 team in your stadium at 2:30, well, at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on CBS, which was the big game that day. How embarrassing is it when they pan out and show and have the drone come up on the top of the stadium and have all that sea of red in that stadium? That's a little embarrassing for a 6-4 team. It wouldn't be embarrassing for a 4-6 team, because damn, you're 4-6. Not for a 6-4 team. Sometimes it bothers me as a former player to see that, because we need y'all. And some of y'all know it because you say we had an effect on the game. Well, damn, have an effect all the time. John said, to be fair, all the red was in the sun and shining bright, all the blue was in the shade. Suncat, especially when they don't understand a new scheme. I know when I was younger, I blamed coaches because I didn't get it. Instead of studying, putting work, looking like crap is an ego adjuster. Sometimes some kids just think they are the shit. They don't care. They really don't. Adam, if you was in the shade the whole game, even more kudos to you, because I know that's at least 5 degrees cooler. So we got 15 minutes. Let's talk about this Louisville game. Well, or do y'all want to talk about the Georgia game? Because I really haven't talked football, like the game. I'm gonna just talk about both. This Georgia game bothers me so much as a player because there was something. And the thing about being a player is fans don't know what goes on during the week. I personally, during my time at Kentucky, had a family member die. You think it doesn't affect you, but it does. I know guys who were on the borderline of being academically eligible, and they bombed the test. They don't feel good. I know guys who have had other issues off the field. Something happened last week. And the thing about it is all it takes is one player. 2 is it really can affect. But the last week game bothers me so much because if we played like that the week prior, we would have beat Vandy. And guys need to understand attention to detail every week is important. At Georgia game, defensively, we gave up some plays, but what I love about it, we're in a situation where we're having adversity and the kids didn't stop playing hard. That's what I love defensively. Offensively, we just left points on the board yet again. Not only from the kicking game, we had some plays that were house calls and we didn't execute. There were plays that could have been bigger plays, but we didn't execute. And the bad part about it was the execution was much better last week offensively than it's ever been this whole season. But there were big plays out there that we did not finish. And against a team, the number one team in the country, your margin of error is really thin. And when you miss plays, it becomes your margin of error almost becomes nothing. And it's not a moral victory. I hate that term, but defensively, we held them to 3 field goals and 1 touchdown. Offensively, we had our chances. Like I said earlier, you cannot get inside the 30-yard line twice and not get any points. We only had 3 possessions in the first half. So for me, it hurts me because that level of play against Georgia was high. If we played like that any week prior to that, it's a different game. So we have too much ebb and flow. We had that Mississippi State game, we played well, then we go down a little bit. Now we got this Georgia game that we played well. Now let's continue the momentum. If we come out and play on a senior day or senior night, like we played last week, there's no doubt about it that we beat Louisville by 2 scores. Football math is less than Common Core math. Don't be trying to say this team it don't work. When you deal with 18 to 23-year-olds, it does not work like that. And do you agree with me that any parent taking their kids to the game is an exception that they will hear? For sure, John. If you're going to any sporting event where either there is alcohol served in the stadium, or there's tailgating outside the stadium, you will hear curse words. If you don't want your kids to hear that, get a sweet or cover their ears because there's gonna be some bombs thrown around. Couldn't forget. I bet, Adam, that looked brutal. Made Georgia grind, nothing big in the past game. That's what we do defensively is we make you. I don't like to bend, but don't break. What I like is we made you snap the ball. Continue to snap the ball until you can't snap anymore. And hopefully when you can't snap it no more, it doesn't end up with a guy in your end zone, but rather either they're punting or they're kicking a field goal. Look, man, Adam and DJ. Brad White had one game where I questioned him, and that was in the Vandy game. And the only reason I questioned him is that I didn't understand why we were bringing pressure on a quarterback that wasn't a pocket, who wasn't a guy who was going to kill you with his arm and kill you with his smarts and finding windows. We had a couple of chances where we could have gotten off the field and we let them continue to move the chains because he got out the pocket and he ran for first downs. Other than that, that guy, Coach White, is up there. He bracketed Bowers, and the guys executed. They executed. We put in a scheme, and we had the guys that were able to execute it and execute it on a high level with athletic ability, because Bowers is a unicorn. You can have guys who can bracket him, but they can't stay with him. We had guys who played their ass off and paid attention to detail and executed the game plan to perfection. I missed. Did you? Thank you, SNYZO. I wouldn't call Childress a tackling machine. I would call him a solid tackler. He did what he was supposed to do. He did his job. Anybody who's watched me long enough know that I'm a big proponent of doing your damn job. And he did his job to a high level. And like you say, the safeties, we're going to lose somebody. We're going to lose somebody because as safeties now, and they're all relatively young, Geiger's going to come back. Jordan Lovett has solidified himself as a better version of Yusuf Corker. And if you know, I'm the president of the Yusuf Corker fan club, but Jordan Lovett, to me, is a little better. He's not a better tackler, but he's a better safety. So you got Geiger, you got Lovett, you got Childress, you got Vito when he comes back. You got either one of these, Kobe Albert, Afari. Someone is gonna probably leave. Someone's gonna probably leave. I hope they are patient enough to stay, but it's gonna be hard because Jordan Lovett is definitely taking one spot. He's definitely got one spot sold up. And then you got another spot with 4 to 5 guys battling for. I think the secondary has found their footing. And I'm going to say this. I hope Maxwell Harrison doesn't lose his confidence, because that play against Vandy wasn't solely on him. Trade of safety for LT. Yeah. If only left tackles were out there like easy to find. Look, I'm gonna say this. You're right. Why not add trades? Afari is not big enough to play outside linebacker on an every down basis. He's just not. That's not his spot. He's gonna either play safety or he could play corner. But nah, he's not. He's not Jordan Wright or JJ Weaver size. He's not even close. You need a guy with some length and some height and some lead in his ass to play outside linebacker. Now, the difference is, like, if you remember when Josh Allen was here, Josh Allen played the jack, and he had his hand on the ground a lot more. He played that field side outside linebacker defensive end. We don't have a guy like that. Now we're playing more of a 3-4 with 2 outside linebackers, not knowing which one is going to come. So with that said, you need to be able to take on a tackle, do pass rush like JJ Weaver and Jordan Wright does, since we don't have a designated pass rusher. So they both need to be able to rush the passer. And you got to have some length and some size. And Afari won't get to that. Now, can he play the small outside linebacker like we did with Devontae Robinson when JJ Weaver went down last year? Sure. Can he play it when it's an obvious passing down? Got to play nickel? Great, because then when people try to run a ball on us, he is stout enough to play the run on third down. So it's going to be interesting how we do that, because Drew Phillips has been doing a good job at nickel too. But I think Drew Phillips needs to play corner. Play him opposite Carrington Valentine. Put a Fari in as your nickel back when you need that, when you're trying to match up against that personnel. It's going to be interesting. I personally love the portal. Now, I don't love some guys who get in the portal, just like some guys leave early to go to the NBA and they don't turn out to be. The portal is a football player's dream because sometimes as a 17 or 18-year-old, you make the wrong decision. And it's nice to be able to rectify your wrong decision without having to lose a year of eligibility. And that's why I like the portal, because people don't understand. Every year in college football, the coach is recruiting a guy to take your spot. So if you get in a situation where you get hurt or you don't fit the scheme, or maybe you're just not good enough for this level, you have the ability to go down the level, or you have the ability, if you've been balling out at a smaller college and you need to test your talents with more competition, you have the ability to move up. So I personally love the portal when it's used properly. Have you ever? I haven't heard anything about Fearby. I have not. My ears are not to the street because I'm not in Lexington. I have no idea, but I did see him play a couple games this year, and he looked okay. It's hard for young defensive linemen, defensive ends, outside linebackers to come in as a young 18-year-old when you're playing against grown-ass 22, 23-year-old men. Your body hasn't matured and you haven't seen enough football. So when you see a freshman, not in the skill position, because you can play wide receiver, running back, defensive back, sometimes linebacker. But that defensive line and that offensive line, there are grown men there. It's hard physically alone to be able to stand up to guys of that talent. And then the mental game is immense because when you are an offensive lineman, defensive lineman in high school, you probably have been just annihilating the talent that you play against in high school. And so sometimes it's just hard to adapt to a situation where the guy in front of you is just better than you naturally. And some guys, it takes a while for them to adapt and adjust and honestly get their confidence back that they are good enough to be on this level. Trust me, I end with this. I had that issue. The seniors, when I got to Kentucky, called me burnt toast. I never in high school had anybody beat me in one-on-one in high school. Not once. I go to college. I think, and here's the thing: when I got to college, I was 17. So I'm a hot 17-year-old from Louisiana. These MFers don't know how to play football up here, and I'm trying to go against the damn fifth-year seniors, trying to go against the best receivers we had, and they are fucking killing me. They are just straight, just in my ass. And I had to understand, and the greatest thing, one of the great things Coach Smith told me was, son, remember, in his Southern drawl, remember, those guys on the other side of football on scholarship too. It totally makes sense. Hey, everyone, do y'all remember the old Central Miss last year that was mostly transfer? Wondering how they pulled that off. Best receiver I played against. Me. Now, there were better stat guys that I played against, but the guy whom I had the utmost respect for was Frank Sanders, who played at Auburn. Here's the reason why. When I played at Kentucky, I was 6 feet, between 185 and 190 pounds. Back then, that was called not a big corner. Now, that's a huge corner now. And my thing I used to do is in the middle and first plays of the game, we played against pro offense style. So there was I back running ISO and lead and all this stuff. So always either the first, second play, the players ran away from you, right? And what I would do is if I would just try to kill a receiver. I mean, I would go full speed and try to just take their heart, knock them on the ground, stand over them. I didn't talk trash, but I stand them and say it's gonna be a long day. Well, they did that shit. Frank Sanders. We were on the road. I think it was a Thursday night game. They ran the ball away. Tried to do my old trick, and that MFer stood me up. And it was a long day for both of us. So for me, that reason alone is why I think he's the best wide receiver I played for. Played against Florida, had a shit ton of just speedsters. Jock Green, Hilliard, all those guys were just beasts. Tennessee had some beasts with Nash and Pillis Price and Kent. Georgia had Bryce Hunter. So they had some receivers, but that dude right there was the only dude that took my best shot and didn't fucking flinch. So I played against Eric Kennison when he played at LSU here. So I played against some Eric Mose at Mississippi State. I played against some really good receivers. But for me, Frank Sanders would be my number one. So I've been rambling for over an hour. Thanksgiving Eve. This is me. This is it for me. I'm signing off. Appreciate everybody who watched tonight, as always. The old faithful. Thank y'all for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Don't eat too much food. And Kentucky 24. Louisville I say 13. Any chance we could get the old guy? Here's the deal. See, Parks, I played with Parks that I think my freshman year. I think he was a senior my freshman year. It'll be nice to get him. Thank you, CC. Again, hope everybody have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. Hopefully with a big win. Again, I got it 24-13. Y'all have a good one.